Hello there. It's September 14th, 2021. Come on, can you believe that 2021 is already, we're in our ninth month of 2021? It just hit me just yesterday. It's like, no, that can't be. Well, here we are. We're not in the ninth month of 2021 if you're going by standard calendrical, that's a Shelley Rickenbach word, calendrical systems. And I'm Joe Weston, and that's who I'm going with today. That's who I am today, and most days usually. And you are who you are. And welcome to our online global, what is it? Online practice for reviving a global heart. So it's always great to see you. It's great to see new faces. It's great to see faces we haven't seen for a while. So thank you for showing up. It's great that you're here and familiar faces. And we just continue our practice. As the world continues to do what it does, we continue to hold our center. We continue to hold who we are. And that is all we can do. It's this the weird, how do we find power in uncertainty? I talk about this often. I talk about this in all the trainings I give, that we may not have power to influence policy at the moment, or the trajectory of this virus, or how things are going to unfold on that level yet. Maybe one day we will be able to influence that, but where we always have power is in regulating our nervous systems and our response to the stressors, and in cultivating resilience, and in choosing to foster the quality of our relationships. We always have power. And so every time we meet, we just reinforce that with each other. It's great to see Raven from Costa Rica. Welcome to have you here. I haven't seen you for a while. Great to see you. And it's a joy and it's an honor, and it gives me hope that you all keep showing up every week, and that we keep doing this practice, and that we may not see. I mean, some of us have been doing this for over 3 years now. We've been meeting every Tuesday for over 3 years now, and I'd like to believe that every time we meet, that we're having an impact on the planet in some way. That as we use this medium called the World Wide Web, that we are spurting out heart-centered connection, fierce compassion and resilience, holding the space of it's through personal transformation that cultural transformation happens. As we hold that, we basically allow that to be infiltrated or spread into the World Wide Web. And I believe it has some impact. It's having an impact on us, on ourselves, and therefore, as we stay more regulated and cultivate this practice of fierce compassion and resilience, it ripples out, and it has to have effect on the people or the creatures that we engage. And that in itself means that we're in a slow and steady process. We're creating a culture of peace, of lasting peace, which ripples out, and will eventually be able to have a larger impact as we continue to stay resilient and persevere in what we're doing. So thank you for showing up. And thank you for the courage of these practices. Sometimes with some of the people who come in as guests and they share what they share, and some of the times I choose to be more provoking, thought-provoking in what I offer you. And you stick with it and you investigate it. It shows it's a testament to your value system and your courage and the warrior within you. And I want to be a little bit more fierce today than civil, although I always like to keep it in perspective. Last week was very beautiful, very powerful. Thank you for all the sharing when we included in that practice this steady mantra of what do you need in this moment? That sense of what if that basically becomes that we're filled in every moment in our thoughts. What do you need in this moment? To anybody, to ourselves, to our 4-legged friends, to our 8-legged friends who happen to wander into our house. Instead of smashing them with a book, we ask them, what do you need in this moment? It probably isn't, please smash me with your book. It may be, you don't know, but if you got to listen. I can't speak to that. And the human beings that you encounter, but mostly with yourself. What do you need in this moment? is transformative. But I wanted to just bring in this idea that to take you to a deeper level with this practice, when we talk about how we label people. We've done a lot of talks about that on some level is the root cause of the issue. It's how we label people as loved one, stranger, or adversary. Because what happens in that is that we get caught in those that we consider loved ones. We have a strong attachment to them, and we inflate basically who they are, and they're out of proportion with the rest of the beings on the planet. And that causes suffering, and that can cause conflict, and it can cause breakdown of relationship. And if nothing else, it continues the breaking as opposed to the bridging. And the same thing with adversaries, those that we would label adversaries, that we have an aversion to them. We're not opening our hearts to them. Generally speaking, most of this is unconscious. That causes suffering within us as well, where we get caught up in the animosity and the opposition and the frustration and the fear and the judgments. And then, of course, there's the indifference to strangers, that we're so caught up in loved ones and adversaries in the aversion attachment game that we have forgotten that there are exponentially more people and beings on this planet than the ones that you would label loved one and stranger. And therefore, if we looked at the kind of the out of balance proportion of where we're putting our time and attention, we begin to cultivate a more global civil and civic engagement. That I'm spending so much time in the attachment and aversion with those I don't like and those I do like, that I have forgotten that there are billions of others that could use my support or just my attention or consideration. And that what we've discovered is that the stranger is not causing the problem, the loved one's not causing the problem, the adversary's not even causing the problem. What's causing the problem is your labeling of that, the rigid label, and not seeing that even labels can change and are fluid. And the example I always give is that if you're, those of you sitting with a beloved or husband or wife or partner, at some point, most likely at some point in your life, they were a stranger to you. And then you met them, and then you fell in love, or you thought, wow, you're groovy, I want to hang out with you. And they became loved one. But they weren't always loved ones. So that to just see that it's amorphous, that it shifts. And that is what causes the problems, is the rigid holding on. And what I want to bring up is this idea. I hear some of you say, I don't have any adversaries. And I question that. And I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I would like to know more what that means. And that's fine. If you feel you have no adversaries, that's great. That's what we all want to get to, is that we don't need adversaries. We don't need loved ones. We don't need strangers. We just need to be a human being relating to other human beings in our humanity. We don't need the labels. That's the point. But the issue isn't whether you have adversaries. The issue is how you are labeling people. And you may come to a point in your heart or in your way of being that you don't directly have people that are enemies to you or are harming you, and you're not harming people. That's a great place to be. But that doesn't mean that you're still not, in your subtle parts of your brain, that you're still not labeling people in that way. What I want to bring up is, I'm going to share with you one of my guilty pleasures, is I love to watch online videos of people scaring other people. Sorry, but I can't, I'm sorry, I'm confessing now. I hope you can still love me or have compassion for me in whatever way that works for you. But that's one of my guilty pleasures. I love watching people get scared by other people. I don't know. The one that I want to bring up, though, is that there are fun videos where there are people who dress up, they put body paint on and everything, and they dress up like they're statues. And they're really still. They're on the street, on a bench, or just standing on the street. People walk by, and then suddenly they go, ah! And that scares the people because they think it's a statue, and suddenly it's not. That makes me laugh. I'm bringing this up because, in a sense, why do they get scared? Because they're walking down the street and there are other people moving and talking and everything like that. They don't get scared by them, but they get scared by the statue who suddenly moves. Why? Because it's something that the brain does, which is basically, as the brain develops and it has experiences, it starts lumping a lot of memories and a lot of experience and starts chunking information. And what the lower brain does is it begins to identify silhouettes in a certain way. And basically, if you think about it, it's a survival technique. If you're gonna, if a creature is walking through the woods, let's say a deer, and they're walking through the woods and they see something kind of in the periphery that has the silhouette of tiger, they don't have time to analyze if it's a tiger or not, or if it's just a bunch of bushes or leaves that just happen to come together that form something that could be a tiger. Their brain, our brains, have, for our survival mechanism, has basically helped us understand that anything that resembles the silhouette of tiger for us or a deer, the brain goes into action, it's a tiger, and we run. We go into fight, flight, freeze. It's a survival mechanism. So in essence, it's the silhouette that triggers that information. That could be wrong or right. They could run and go to the side of the woods or whatever, not get eaten. It could have just been bushes and they were wrong, but at least they survived. So I think what happens with us is that, so why is that so funny? Or why do people get so scared? Because when they're walking down the street and they're having a nice conversation with their friends, eating their ice cream, whatever they're doing, they're continuously assessing and surveying their environment for safety purposes. And so they're walking through the street, having this great conversation, like bench, tree, street sign, two people walking and having a conversation, statue. So we do that, we're not thinking cognitively, we just instantly silhouette everything around us. So they have silhouetted the information that the brain gets is statue. So when they walk by it and the statue moves, it just cracks their whole sense of what they believe to be reality in that moment. And that's what scares them. Because on the other side of them, there are people who are making noise and coming close to them as well. It doesn't scare them because their silhouette information for them is those are people, they seem relatively safe. Statue's definitely safe because it's an inanimate object. Suddenly the statue's moving, it's like, wait a minute, my whole sense of safety around statue has shifted. So why am I taking a lot of time to say this is that the problem isn't whether you have adversaries or not. The problem is the deep, subtle silhouette response that we have to people. And that I'm sure that based on your political beliefs, your religious beliefs, your spiritual beliefs, your race, who you choose to love, that there are certain silhouettes of people that when you see them, you instantly label them. Whether you know it or not, whether you want to admit it or not. And my belief is that even though you may not have adversaries, that you still lump certain people in a category that you may not call adversary, but that your nervous system, lower brain has silhouetted into adversary. Does anybody have a thought on this or a question or anybody resonate? Just open it up a little bit to the group before we do our practice.
I don't have a lot to say, but it does resonate.
Thank you, Rick. Yeah.
Joe, I'm so glad we're talking about this because I think it's so very true that there's stuff that we consciously know that we're afraid of, and then there's stuff that we don't even necessarily know why we're afraid of it. For me, a great example is the scurrying mouse. Like, I'm not actually afraid of mice, but if there's one nearby and it scurries, everything in my body lets loose and I scream like a tiny child. And it's not logical or reasonable, but there's something in me that recognizes that silhouette and that behavior as threatening.
Yes. And this is the subtler level of the practice we do. When we can get to this, then we can see real transformation happen. Because, we say to each other, why can't we get along? Why are we in this? Why are we in such extreme polarization? Why is there so much animosity? Particularly those who say, I'm a good person, I love all people, all of that. And that may be true, but what we're not addressing is this much more subtle level, that there is a scurrying mouse, on a certain level, it really can't do significant damage to you. But in your nervous system, in your trauma history, in your story, whatever, your genetics, whatever, your response to a small little creature is that response. And that is what's keeping us from a deeper level of heart connection with those we don't know and with adversaries. It's an unconscious say, I get along with everyone, and you do. That's the whole point of fierce civility. To say I have no adversaries, which you may, and that may be true, is a great thing. But to say, why can't we all get along? I get along with everyone. I do my best. Is just one side of the issue, the civility part. And the fierce part is mostly to go within and say, where am I still holding on to patterns that are not allowing me to overcome that? The silhouettes are always going to be there. I don't know, Cindy, if you have, from your background in the nervous system and trauma, I think the silhouettes are always there. It's just our responses to the silhouette that we treat ourselves that more quickly to be able to, I'm using Hungry Tiger, but maybe Hungry Tiger you shouldn't investigate. But let's say with Hungry Tiger, that you take a moment and say, my nervous system picked up silhouette of Hungry Tiger, but it's not a Hungry Tiger. It's just a bunch of bushes that seem to be coming together that happen to form the form of a Hungry Tiger.
Right. It's a level of self-honesty, right? To acknowledge, okay, well, here this thing is happening and I can feel this happening in my body. And I'm going to be honest with myself enough to know that this is going on so that then I can deal with it, right? Like, so if I'm really practicing respectful confrontation and fierce civility, then I have to first notice that I'm having a reaction, right? That there's a silhouette or a metaphorical silhouette or whatever that I'm seeing. And for me, that list might be endless. Like I might think I know what those silhouettes are in my life, but the truth is I believe that I don't know all of the silhouettes that I might have the potential to react to in the world. But my body will tell me, right? That's part of what I love about this work, is my body will tell me. And then if I'm really honest with myself, then I have a responsibility to do something about what my body's telling me so that I can leave my heart open to gather potentially more accurate information.
Love that. That's beautiful. Yeah. So what I'm offering to you all, especially since a number of you come back on a regular basis, is that the deeper aspect of the work, the first level is, yes, to try to minimize the number of adversaries in your life, to try to minimize the amount of attachment you have to loved ones, and to engage with strangers so that they don't become strangers anymore. They become part of your world, right? That's the initial from the outside world. The more subtle part, the real warrior part of this, is to see that even though you may have fixed things outside, it's the labels it's the labeling itself, the act of labeling that is getting in the way of more access to your power, to your fierce compassion and your resilience to have more of an impact and influence. So that you can be able to see, because in those moments, that's the issue, is that fear is a very powerful thing. Unfortunately, what happens is that people fear something and they believe, because they're having such a strong emotional reaction, that it must be true, the thing that they are fearful of. That's how cults get started. That's how what we're seeing in the internet is this. And the example I give is, I remember as a kid, young kid, I remember I was lying in bed. It was like 4 a.m. or something, and I heard a noise in the closet, and I was sure it was a person. And I was literally in frozen fear, tears just dripping down my eyes from fear. And I stayed like that until the sun came up and the light went up. And finally, I had the courage to go in and open the door. of the closet after lying there 2 hours in fear and noticed that a shoe had fallen from above and hit the ground. So it may seem simple, but I've always taken to me is that you're not going to overcome your fears if you don't investigate the very thing that you're fearful of in a safe way. And that I saw that my fear was based on assumption in my head, not on reality. It was based on a labeling that noise in closet meant scary person that wants to harm you. And that's what we're seeing playing out in this country and around the world, is that we have gotten, so we're so stuck in our labels and we're so stuck in the fear place that anything that seems different, we perceive as a threat. And until we get over that and learn how to, as Cindy is saying, it's a constant thing that it's not going to go away. How we respond to it is what changes. If we don't work with that and overcome that, we're just going to keep perpetuating the cycle. So I just bring this up as we do this practice to take it to a deeper level, that you may not have adversaries in your life at this moment. But the work of this work, the power of this work is understanding how the subtle ways you're still silhouetting others in a certain way based on the flag they carry or don't carry, based on their skin color, based on their rhetoric, the type of hat they wear, whatever. So just be mindful of that. That's the deeper work. And in the end, it benefits you most because it gets you out of the continual reactivity and gets you to a deeper level of it. So let's do our practice. Sitting in a way where your spine is straight without being rigid. Power sit. So elongating from the back of your neck, so you're tucking in your chin a little bit, relaxing your jaw, your shoulders, your belly. Sitting in a way where you can cultivate in stillness, presence, awareness, balance, and flow. Bringing awareness to your center, placing your lower belly the width of 3 fingers below your navel, a third of the way into the body, from the front of the body. Center of personal power, impulse, gut wisdom, awareness. From your center, become aware of your contact points, the parts of your body that are connecting with what you're sitting on in the ground. With full awareness, feeling the sensations of being held. Training your nervous system to be able to drop in, trust that you are held. From your center, become aware of your physical body. Simply listening, listen to what's unfolding in this present moment. That's all we're doing in this exercise. First, through your physical body, what's unfolding, what information you get. From your center, become aware of, well, just take a moment first with the physical body and the silhouette and the story or the label you have for yourself physically. And how, because of your label, you're not really investigating further who you are in this moment. The label may be 20 years old. Or maybe a label of your physical body, a story someone else told you. How do you cut through the label of physical body to get to who you are right now? From your center, become aware of your emotional body in this present moment. Again, cutting through all the stories that you have about your emotional self. Experiencing yourself in this present moment. Your emotional body. Your thoughts from your center, become aware of your mental body. Cutting through the normal chatter, usual chatter to get to another level of who are you in this moment. Maintaining connection with your core, your center, your personal power. Now bringing awareness to your heart, the middle of your chest, where your heart power resides. Passion, courage. From your center and from your heart, connecting with that part of you that has access to something larger than yourself. Breaking the label of the limitations of how you perceive yourself. And opening in this moment to connecting with that part of you that is connecting with something larger than yourself in this moment. Allow it to flow into you, around you. Expanding out your sense of self to include your personal space. So as you're connecting with yourself, you're physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Now expand out your sense of self to include your personal boundaries, your personal space, in all directions around you, below you. Considering if you're going to have a label for yourself, that what you are now cultivating now is the new label of who you are. With awareness of yourself in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, taking a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. With this awareness of self from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of your personal, of your surroundings, your space that you're in. And again, cutting through all of the labels you have of your surroundings, seeing it as if you're seeing them for the first time or sensing it. With this awareness of yourself and your surroundings in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. From your center and from your heart, through the connection with yourself and your surroundings, become aware of those sharing this process with you, this meditation with you, in like a meditation circle. So from your center and from your heart, connecting with those in this meditation circle. People from various parts of North America, Central America, Europe, maybe other parts of the world. Cutting through your silhouette perception of who these people are, what kind of people you think they are. Try to really get a sense of who they are in this moment. Opening up your curiosity. With that awareness of self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. This awareness of self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, expanding our capacity to hold more beings in our heart. From your center and from your heart, become aware of all human beings, beginning with those human beings you would label as loved ones. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see as you stand face to face with them? Why do you just instantly assume that they're loved ones? In what ways do you take them for granted? In what ways are you overinflating their importance or their significance in the world itself? There's no right answers and there's no good answers. simply an investigation to help you soften the rigidity of your labels. You see them for who they are as opposed to the label you've put on them. Your humanity to their humanity. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. From your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings you would label stranger. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? What makes you assume that they are strangers? What does that actually even mean? Can you pierce through that label you have of them? And from your humanity, connect with their humanity, see them for who they are, through the label. And from your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings that you would label adversary. Or a more subtle part of you labels it as adversary. Be truthful to yourself. Who arises in your heart? What faces do you see? What makes them an adversary? That's part of the labeling. What assumptions do you have about them? How much are you overinflating their importance in relationship to the world itself? And is it possible from your heart, personal power, to pierce through the label? Thanks to their humanity. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. And with this awareness of self, surroundings, those in this meditation circle, and all human beings, regardless of how you label them, as loved ones, stranger, and adversary, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And imagine having pierced through the labels from your humanity, connecting with every single human being with their humanity. No one more better or more worse. Simply in this present moment, a human being. That level of equanimity, taking them into your heart. Free of the labels. And with all human beings in your heart, you can bring your awareness back to those in this meditation circle. Sharing that sense of humanity of all beings with one another. Taking those in this meditation circle into your heart. Bring your awareness back to your surroundings. To your present location and present moment. Bringing your surroundings into your heart. Now bringing awareness back to yourself. Sharing with your heart, bringing yourself into your heart as another member of that humanity. Free of the labels. One heart. In your heart. All beings in one heart with presence, awareness, balance. Imagine walking that into the world in your heart in all moments. Taking that, allowing your nervous system to remember the effects of what you've generated with this practice. allowing the energy, beneficial heart-centered energy to flow into every cell of your body. Flowing into every organ, nurturing and healing your organs. Allowing this energy to flow into your core, into your sense of personal power and conviction. Charging your battery. Taking one final breath to close this practice. And with this awareness of who you are right now, slowly open your eyes, connecting your experience to your surroundings. This moment, looking around, stretching, shaking. So we started with our motivation. We had a little chat, little discussion. We did our practice. Any reflections? We've only got a couple of minutes, but anybody want to reflect?
Yes. I like to reflect. When you did the introduction, a story came up, and I took the story within the practice. I was once in a swimming pool, and lucky me, I was the only one. I was very tired, so I was swimming as slow as possible. I called it meditational swimming. And then all of a sudden there was a big sound, a lot of group of big boys, students. Oh, within a split second, they were my adversaries. They were breaking my bubble. And oh, I hated them within a second. And they jumped and they had a ball and they were shouting and screaming and all the things. And then I recognized some of them. I knew them. They were friends of my children. And of course, the ball came close to my head. And I said, oh, well, do you want it? And at the moment I make contact with them, they were not adversaries because I knew them, but also because we could make connection. And they were friends, loved ones maybe, and no strangers, no adversaries, closer to my heart. And they said, oh, sorry of the ball. Well, we swim here, so you can swim there. Well, I had a swimming pool for myself, not the whole pool, but I don't need it. And in the practice, I realized I have every moment the possibility to change the label. It's up to me and not what they do, whether they shout or they have a ball. It's what I do with the silhouette and the imprint of me. And that gives a whole lot of freedom. I can change it. I'm not, I don't depend on others. It's what I do with it. So, wow, that gives a whole lot of space. That gives a whole lot of swimming pool for myself.
Beautiful. I couldn't have said it better, Mika. Beautiful. That's it. That's the work. That's what's going to, I believe, get us out of this mess we're in.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
No. And it's not hard work if you look at yourself. What are you doing? Well, I don't, when I think about it, when I make them my adversaries, I give them a whole lot of power over me. I don't want it. So I change it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
This is Tammy. Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Tammy.
Hey, I am really struck by the very last thing that Mika just said, that when I make them my adversaries, I give them a whole lot of power over me. I've wondered why sometimes I have interactions with people where and Joe, you said this earlier about how the way I feel about someone is not who they are. And I just had this kind of interaction with someone this past weekend who is a really good friend of mine. And we were having a moment together, and she had some feelings and decided that I was those feelings. And we had to process that together. And in that moment, she made me her adversary. And I was really struck by why she would do that. Like, what's the benefit? Like, we don't do things unless there's some benefit to us in doing them. And I think there's something in there about sort of giving someone else our power. There's that notion of the drama triangle of either, villain, victim, or hero, and sort of making ourselves the villain or the victim. That there's some familiarity there with people. And so you've just activated some thoughts in me that I'm obviously just expressing for the very first time. And we're at the end of the session, so we probably won't get to go into them. But I think there's something to that, this notion that, we give people our power when we make them our adversary. I think there's some benefit that we get from that when we do that. Like, I get to be the victim here. And there's something to that now for me to think more about. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I wish there was more time to delve more into that, to hear your wisdom on that. But yeah, that's it. That's the purpose, right? The more you practice this, the more you come to your own realizations. That's from gathering information to deeper level of heart connection, of contemplation, then it becomes a new habit. And there's a lot of wisdom in this if you keep practicing, that just reveals itself as you keep doing it. So beautiful, and thank you for sharing. So I want to say thank you all. Let's keep discussing that, because that's the essence of, I talk a lot about that, is where are we giving our power away? And it's in such subtle ways, and we even, and that's where being nice, our chronic niceness, in that we're giving our power away. Or our resentments that hold that in a sense, we're giving too much power to people, which ends up making us feel like a victim, as Tammy was saying. So keep contemplating. It's these things, as we overcome them, that we get to a deeper level of open-heartedness, humanity. So Eliza, enjoy your Qigong class. So just want to let you know that this Thursday, we're having another meetup, our Fear Civility meetup online. It's 90 minutes. It starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'd be great for you to join us. We'll be in discussion about fear civility. Less practice, more discussion, and it'd be great to have you join us to support in that. It's every third Thursday of the month. So the 16th of September is the third Thursday of the month. Keep telling people about this, and Raven, it's great to see you after such a long time. It's wonderful to have you there, from bringing the energies of Costa Rica, and the rest of you in Shelley, North Carolina. It's great, and those who keep showing up. See you again next week, and much love to you all. And may the benefits of what we have cultivated help us all remember our humanity in any given moment as we connect with the humanity of others. Be well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you
Thank you.
all.